What is up, guys? Dzeeff here. I am back. I took a few days off to spend some time with family, but in today's video we are talking about some of the final Dimension Force reveals. This set got released in the OCG on January 15th, so a few days ago, but we won't see these cards until May in the TCG. Regardless, some of the final reveals for this set were pretty wild, including a new alternate win condition card that is pretty different from any other Yu-Gi-Oh card that we've seen in the past. Anyway, first up we have Mayor of the Shore, a level 4 water aqua effect monster with 1500 attack and 1600 defense. This card says you can only use this card name's 1 and 2 effects once per turn each. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one aqua monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Mayor of the Shore. During your end phase, you can tribute this card, then target one aqua monster in your graveyard, except Mayor of the Shore, add it to your hand. I think without a doubt this card will eventually see competitive play. Now maybe not immediately, I don't know about a lot of aqua decks in the format right now, but this is just Armageddonite for aqua monsters, but also it has a bonus effect too. Now that bonus effect isn't that good, I mean it's alright, but it is a bit slow, but even if it comes up like once every 100 games, that is still a pretty cool thing because it didn't need that effect to be good. Now maybe you won't use that effect that often, but obviously the first effect is the big one here, and that is a really good ability. Now right now there aren't a ton of aqua decks in the metagame, but I think Mayor of the Shore will see play at some point. We already have a number of good aqua monsters. You know, this could maybe be played in like an Atlantean Mermail deck. There are some good aquas in that particular strategy, so this card already does have potential, but I think it will need a bit more support to truly see competitive play. I think this card is really cool though, and I think that printing specifically aqua support instead of just generic water support allowed Konami to print a card as powerful as this without making it too broken. Next up we have that new alternate win condition card. Now I do not know how to pronounce this card's name at the moment. I'm sure it'll be something else in the TCG, but here it is. It is a rank 6 Fire Machine Xyz effect monster that takes any 2 level 6 monsters to summon. It has 600 attack and 3000 defense. So while this card only has one effect, I should mention that that effect is quite long and confusing, so we'll take it slow here and kind of go piece by piece. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, activate this effect, so it only works during the opponent's battle phase. Roll a 6-sided die, okay, not too hard. Assign the next 6 main monster zones on either field from the perspective of this card that is in the main monster zone, a number from 1 to 6 clockwise, and move this card into the zone assigned the number of the die roll result. If there is a monster in a zone this card is about to move into, attach it to this card as material. If it is an Xyz monster, transfer its materials to this card as well. If this card has 6 or more Xyz materials attached this way, you win the duel. If this card cannot move into a zone, or if there is a monster in a zone it is about to move into and it cannot attach that monster as material, send this card to the graveyard. So what the heck is this card trying to do? Well, it is basically moving around the board clockwise depending on your die roll, and if it lands on a monster at the very end, it takes that monster as material. If you are able to get 6 material on this card that way, you will in fact win the duel. So here is a chart kind of showing us in a simple way how this card might work. So in this example, the monster has been summoned in the middle column, and then it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clockwise in the main monster zones. So you would then roll a die, and this card would move to wherever the die roll said. But I do want to mention here, and I think I'm reading this correctly, but with the current English translation of this card, it looks like the card does not take every monster it passes over on the way to its final spot. It only takes the monster that you land on. So actually getting 6 material with this effect is going to be a pretty tough challenge. Now, a few people have pointed out that you can use a couple of the die roll manipulation abilities to make this card a bit easier to win with. For example, you could use that 6 to give yourself a guaranteed 6 or 1, which is a little bit easier to work with, and you could even like summon one of your own monsters that has a bunch of materials right next to it, just in case you do roll an even number. You could change it to a 1 with with that 6. Now, admittedly, that is a pretty convoluted combo. This card is obviously not meant to be competitively viable, but man, is this card cool. I love seeing that Konami is willing to make wacky cards like this even in 2022. This really does, besides the fact that it's an Xyz monster, look like an older Yu-Gi-Oh card just in how its effect is designed. It's wacky, it's crazy, it's probably just a casual card, but hey, it is in the game and it's pretty wild. I don't know, let me know in the comments if you guys have been able to come up with anything else, but at the moment I'm pretty sure that 6 is the best way to use this card's effect, but I'd love to hear if you guys have come up with anything else. Next up we have Reactor Anulis, I think that's how that's pronounced. So this is a new Reactor card. I talked about Reactors a little while ago and I asked why they hadn't gotten more support, and here is more support, and oh my gosh, is this card terrible. This is a new normal spell card that says you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Detach one Xyz material from a card you control, then if that detached material was sent to the graveyard, you can set it to your field. So this card not only is bad, I mean that's pretty obvious right away, but also it doesn't even make that much sense in a Reactor type deck. Now, as I mentioned a little while ago, there aren't that many Reactor cards in the game. We only have one main deck monster and one extra deck monster, but this card really has no synergy with the Reactors that we've gotten so far. The only main deck Reactor monster actually doesn't have a flip effect, so I don't understand why this card sets the material to the field. It seems like it could special summon it and it probably would be a little bit better. At the moment, I think the only good thing about this card is that it shows that Konami does know that Reactors exist, and maybe this means they'll give them more support in the future. Perhaps they'll give them support that somehow ties this card in with the other support we've already gotten. Finally, I thought I'd end this video on a high note by taking a look at a card that I think has some potential. So we have Pawn Shop Ledger Book, a new normal trap card. Now, I have gotten baited by normal trap cards in the past. There are a lot of good ones out there, but they're not all good enough to compete with, but I actually feel like this card could be pretty good. It says target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls, banish them until the end phase, then your opponent gains 1000 life points for each card removed from the field by this effect. I think this card is great, and I think it's really good for a few different reasons. For example, I love that this card gives the opponent life points instead of requiring you to take 1000 damage for each card banished. That's a really big deal because this card would probably see play in controlling trap decks, and those decks already play Judgment and Strike, so they have a lot of life points that they need to pay, so I like that a lot. Also, this is a pretty big deal. This card allows you to target up to 2 monsters, which means it's a lot more flexible than some other cards that have been released recently. For example, I really liked the card Get Out, but it has to target 2 cards. So with this one, you can target potentially only 1 monster your opponent controls. It makes the card a lot more versatile, which I do like a lot. Pawn Shop Ledger Book might just be a throwaway common, but personally, I think it's a really cool card, and I like to see cards like this. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you later. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.